Live from the headquarters of Common Sense, this is Common Sense Christianity. As always, I'm your host, Ethan Foster, here today with another episode. And guys, it's going to be a different episode than usual. I'm not going to start off with the usual religious talk. A different subject came to mind after, I believe last night, I had this really interesting conversation with this person. I don't even know how to describe him. And this is how it started. So I subscribe to Young American Foundation just to watch out their conservative videos and stuff because it interests me. And this person, I commented on there, Ben Shapiro's the best. I'm a big fan of Ben Shapiro, and I just generally like what he has to say. And then this dude replies, yes, especially when he said, I don't give a damn about the browning of America. And I said, yeah, dude, I wish people would stop focusing on race so much. And now I misinterpreted what the man said. And he explains later, he says, I wish Ben would admit he is not America first. And dang it, I can't even turn the page. And he says, how is he, well, I say, how is he not America first? And then he gives me this long explanation clarifying what he meant. He said, what I mentioned in my first reply, he really said that America will cease to be America when it becomes a mostly non-white country, and eventually basically non-white. That isn't racist. It is simply the truth. America through the years became what it was because of the demographics. Now those demographics are nearly beyond reversal until the country completely collapses. So we get into a bit of an argument here. I say, look, dude, America is an idea. It isn't represented by skin color. I'm very conservative, but I'm also a biracial African American. Ideas shape this country, not skin color. It says, dude, you sound worse than Charlie Kirk. Demographics is density. I believe he meant. Ideas, morals, beliefs, values help guide people and people make a country. Why is migration a one-way street? And I replied, dude, it shouldn't matter what the people think. That's not what America is based on. This country is a country of immigrants. I care about the values we hold as Americans. But to say that Ben Shapiro isn't America first just because he doesn't care about the browning of America isn't a very good position to hold. And then he replies, when the U.S. becomes all Mexican, it's no longer the U.S., it's Mexico. And Mexico is the way it is because of the people who live there. If more Mexicans coming here will make America better, then why isn't Mexico already fantastic? And this is what really bothered me. Someone has the audacity to reply. He gives no argument, but instead just is being a bit of a coward here. He says, enjoy marrying Shaniqua or Carlita then, you moron. It's not the dude I was debating with earlier, but someone else intersecting into this conversation that we were having. And to that, I don't even have a comment. Because it's one thing to have a different opinion and have a logical conversation about it, but it's another thing to just criticize me for holding a different and, in my opinion, a more logical view. I'm going to finish this and give my opinions and thoughts on the conversation. He says, again, dude, you're basically saying that America needs to remain... Oh, well, this is what I say to him. My mistakes. You're basically saying that America needs to remain majority white. Why would they come here if they want another Mexico? They come here because America is better. America is an idea, and it shouldn't matter what race you are. And then he finally says, it shouldn't matter, but it does. Race is real and has consequences. People aren't interchangeable. You're way off on this one. No, I am not. The problem is, people are so focused on race. Why are we focused on this race? We need to be focused on spreading America ideas. And this is why I usually don't give my political opinions on the show. This is a rare occasion. This is why the more radical people on the left are winning this case. They have a more appealing argument to minorities such as Hispanics, such as African Americans. And that's the problem. If this guy, a conservative, wants to convince people, he has to make a better, less racist sounding message. Now, I don't think he's racist. but most people would. It sounds more. It sounds like he doesn't want uh, people of a different ethnicity entering this country. And he has to state it in a different way if he wants to convince people of this argument. If he's just here to not convince anyone, then continue saying what you're saying. But I think that is virtually anti-American. It shouldn't matter your skin color. It shouldn't matter where you're from. It shouldn't matter what are you going to do for this country. And you can't just base it off of political views. I personally, here's an example. I'm against socialism. That does not mean I will not accept socialists into this country. I know socialists. I'm friends with some socialists. I think they're idiots, but I don't hold that against them. I don't say you don't have a right to be in this country. Because America, while it is an idea, it is a place of diverse ideas, and we need to hold this position of diversity in thought, not of skin color. We don't need to worry about skin color. So I wasn't too happy with that particular comment. Let me know what you think of that. I want to know what you guys think of that, since it's a different thing than we usually talk about. You'll hear more about this if you go subscribe to my political podcast, Sons of Liberty podcast. But then my favorite atheist, Virtual Willis, as always, leaves a very interesting comment to think about. And it's a bit longer of a one, but we'll go ahead and go over it. If complexity is something that can't come about without a creator, then that creator would have to be at least as complex as the thing it was creating. And in practice, the creator would have to be way more complex than what it was creating. So if the answer to why is there so much complexity in the universe is because an incredibly complex being we call God created all the complexity, then the next logical question is, who or what created this incredibly complex being we are calling God? If God and God's vast complexity can just exist without the need for creation or an explanation, then the whole argument we started with, which was complexity, cannot come about without a creator, falls apart. I want to give my opinion on this. Because it's very interesting to think about. So I heard this argument in a Richard Dawkins debate with John Lennox. And I love Richard Dawkins. He's probably my favorite atheist in the world right now. And he gave this argument, and I forgot John Lennox's response. But my response to that being is, let's just take humanity, for example. We create things all the time that are super complex. All these machinery. Let's take a plane, for example. I know I love using the plane example. When we take a plane, it is a very complex machine, right? But the human body, while we are used to it, while some of us may not think about it, biologically is a very fine-tuned piece of machinery. The human body is irrefutably complex. You can deal with however you want that, whether you think it's created or not, but it is a very complex. We are very complex organisms. So to say that just because God is more complex than his creation, I don't see as a fit argument, just because we create things that are complicated but aren't as complicated as us. So that does not deny the existence of the creator. And then he continues on, for an argument to be compelling, it needs to not break its own rules. If the rule is complexity requires a creator, then it's not fair to say God has no creator because he has always existed, or God exists outside of space and time. It's just pushing the question up a level and is not addressing the problem being raised, which is a fantastic problem and worthy of thought. Honestly, these apologetic responses that you're getting seem like they haven't been updated in a while. It sounds like the stuff from Frank Turek, William Lane Craig, and Lee Strobel a decade ago. The arguments have all shifted since that time, and reading them here in 2020 feels like a blast from the past. Laughing out loud. LOL. I don't care if it seems like an argument from the past. Not to be rude or anything. Personally, for me, the argument works. Now, it may not convince you, but our arguments usually don't convince people. sometimes they'll convince me, like I was convinced over the theory of evolution by listening to a lot of Richard Dawkins and actually paying attention in science class. Different topic though. When it comes to whether God is breaking his own rules, and we have this whole conversation on, I believe, my last episode in the comment section. Check it out. It is very interesting to listen to his perspective on it. Does God break his own rules? Does God need a creator? Is he outside of space and time? Because the whole point of Christians claiming that there is a creator is the fact that there needs to be a cause of the entire universe. And he later brings up, and I don't have it on the papers, so if I get this wrong, please correct me. He brings up necessarily that would mean God would have a cause. Well, he's the first cause. He's the whole cause of the universe. So therefore, he would have to be outside of what governs the universe: space, matter, and time, right? There's three things came together at the Big Bang. So he cannot be made of space, matter, and time. For me, that's logical. You could do whatever you want with that, but that is logical to me. Hopefully, that answers your question. On my Instagram live, less religion, more Jesus. Shout out if you have Instagram, go follow them. I'm gonna read what they're saying because I'm generally curious to know. He says there is not more than one race. Thank you. Finally, someone says something logical. There is only one race, and that's the human race. We are all a part of. We need to start loving each other more. Thank you for that comment. We do. And sometimes I fail at it. I run out of patience sometimes, and that's a mistake that I make. But yeah, and then he says, God is eternal. He was never created, but God is self-existent. Psalms 90, verse 2. And then last comment he makes, we can't be more complex than God, or we would be God. There is only one God. Again, that's Christian belief. I believe that. But for the atheists out there, they have different perspectives on it. And at the end of the day, our arguments here are really all about worldview and personal experiences. I really do appreciate, guys, and I want to make this clear for the atheists out there. I do appreciate your comments. I do appreciate your questions. It always helps me grow in knowledge, in faith, whatever. It's helped me discover more about what I personally believe about my personal viewpoints. Keep leaving the comments. I'll try and respond to them as soon as possible. Guys, stay in prayer if you're a Christian in this time of uncertainty, especially up here in Utah. Guys, earthquakes all week. It's been strange. Coronavirus spreading everywhere. You guys stay safe. Don't want to have any tragedy during this time of crisis. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of Common Sense Christianity. As always, I'm your host, Ethan Foster. Check out our new podcast, Sons of Liberty podcast, and check out our current podcast, Common Sense Christianity. And make sure you leave a comment. If you want to email me personally, my email is commonsensechristianitypodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, I'm Ethan Foster here with Common Sense Christianity. Hey, God bless you too, bro.